My name is Zach Pfeiffer, and today I'm going to be discussing my final project, which is called the Hobby Brews deal. Hobby Brews is a local brewery. It's highly rated and enjoyed by the local community. They focus heavily on their food and the experience inside the brewery as opposed to the beer itself, but the beer is also higher quality than most of the stuff you'll get at just a local liquor store. In this scenario, they're going to try to secure a small distribution deal for local restaurants and liquor stores that want to buy their product, and they have to convince a company called County Distributors to do so, to embark on that endeavor with them. The negotiation strategy that I'm going to use for this, or one of them, is going to be collaboration. They have excellent relationships with the local businesses that Hoppy Brews would be inclined to do business with. And then they can also make a profit because people rate Hoppy Brews beer and their food and things like that very high. And so if they get that on their shelves, if they can get that product on the shelves, then one might believe that they'll make good sales on it. So they can collaborate, and then also it's kind of the same thing but a little different, as a win-win. Both of them can get what they want out of this. Hoppy Brews can make some money off the sales. The county distributors can make money off the sales as well. But then Hoppy Brews also stands to gain more than just the revenue from the sales, but also garner some more reputation within the community and have people come into the actual restaurant location. And that's their main goal. Their main goal isn't to make money off the sales in the on the shelves in those stores, but instead to kind of put their beer on the shelves, have people try it, have people walk by it, and make that as almost like a hook and get them into the store with that experience. Another strategy, or onto strategies, I think that one of the biggest strategies that you would use in this deal is to not show your hand too fast, because if Hoppy Brews tells any distributing place that they just are going to use they're just going to use the distribution deal solely for the purpose of marketing their product as opposed to making money off of it, then the distributor might not really be as inclined to go in on that deal, because they're the ones that only can really make a profit off of the sale of it. So if Hoppy Brews, for whatever reason, wasn't totally committed to making money off the sale, then I could see the deal breaking down. So one of the things that they would want to do is they would want to bargain on certain things. The bargaining would happen with quantity and sale and all those, and the selling price and things like that, because for this scenario, we put Hoppy Brews is going to cost about $2 more than the average six-pack. And so they're going to need to really negotiate to be able to keep their price at that. And that means they might have to bring the quantity down. And they also will want to not bargain on certain things, like talking about the real reason that Hoppy is interested in distributing this product, because then that might make the deal go south. So just kind of leaving out certain details that might not be advantageous for you to share. And then another tactic that they could use would be probably just questioning. I think that questioning is the biggest thing that Hoppy Brews would want to do, because they're going to need to know who's getting their beer. So where is it going to go? How much? What are they going to be able to sell it for? What's the profit margin going to look like? Because in reality, maybe in other scenarios, the brewery might know more about the not the craftsmanship, but maybe how the business is done for distribution. But in this situation, I wanted it to be this is just a local brewer. He likes to make food and beer and stuff like that, but he doesn't know how to distribute. He doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't know how any of that'll work. So he's going to need to ask all these questions to be able to understand how the business is going to go, and for him to be able to make the right decisions for his brewery. So he's going to just need to ask questions to the people that actually understand the business and might have a little bit of an advantage, or actually a big advantage in this. That's why I left the the better alternative deal out. There's not really a better alternative deal for Hoppy Brews. They need to make this deal. There's not a lot of distribution places for them, and so they need to secure a deal in order to get what they want out of this situation. If they don't, it wouldn't be the end of the world because they do have their business as is. But if they could secure a deal, they might be able to generate more revenue and possibly even franchise in the future, or make the sales of their beer more of a primary concern as opposed to having just the people come in and sit down at the restaurant. But because the subject matter experts are county distributors for distribution, if it went south, Hoppy Brews probably wouldn't be able to secure a deal like that unless it was through county distributors. For a recap, basically, I just was trying to get a unique scenario, or as unique as I could, because I'm sure many deals like this have played out before, but there wasn't a lot of things I looked up that were like this, that were talking about how instead of the thing that's being negotiated, that being the distribution of the beer, being the primary concern of the people on the side I'm taking, the Hoppy Brews, it was something kind of below that, something on the outside that might not be known to the distributors right away, which is that they're using it as a marketing tool. And I thought that was interesting, and so I tried to follow that. And I think that some questions that might be brought up about this would be like, why would their primary concern not be on the sale of their beer if they're a brewery? I was trying to think of a lot of breweries, at least where I grew up, they didn't have they weren't just selling beer. It wasn't like these giant like beer manufacturers and all they're doing is pumping out six packs. Instead, they were like crafting their own in-house beer. They maybe had it in local liquor stores, and they sold food, and it was mainly a restaurant. And it just got people that maybe liked more locally made beer to come in and then have a meal with their families, which I was trying to go for that here, where this local brewery owner is more focused in on that, but is also trying to branch out in other ways. And maybe he'll follow that lead if he wants to, but for the most part, he just wants to try to get people to come into the restaurant because that's where he's making most of his money, and it's already secure. Another question that I think people might have would be, why only one distributor? Like, why wouldn't he be able to go to another distributor? And maybe if it was like a bigger city or something, there would be multiple distribution agencies and stuff, but I was trying to think of like a rural community, and that this is a small brewery in a very rural community, so there's not a lot to choose from. The business has to be done differently. There's not a ton of different options, and business is going to be a little more and a little less competitive. There's less people to compete with, but at the same time, there's less businesses to compete with, and there's less people to compete for. So you might be able to get a larger portion of the local community to buy your goods, but that'll still be difficult to maybe break even because there's so few of those people. So it's kind of a different scenario. I feel like a lot of people that do these types of deals always are talking about like big cities and stuff like that. I wanted it to feel like it was small, like something that wouldn't be discussed in a business class a lot, where it's like a smaller deal, because that's the majority of deals that are going to happen in business are going to be small. So anyways, that was my presentation. It was really fun to learn about negotiating a deal and trying to like dive deep into how it'll all happen and like what to use. And thank you for listening.